And close your eyes or turn your gaze low. And I've been asking all my students this week as we start here, place your hands somewhere on your body that could use a little extra positive energy flow. Like maybe you've got a cranky shoulder, and so you could touch that here. Perhaps being a little more easygoing on your heart, hand over heart, more emotionally available. I've mostly been putting my hands on my head to help within staying mentally strong and full. Where is your spot? Eyes closed. Notice how perhaps identifying that need can help you in this practice. Once that feels good to you, you can just let the hands rest back down on the legs. And then tuck the chin to the chest. Start with easy opening movement here. Rock the right ear to the right shoulder, and then left ear to the left shoulder. Just back and forth, this little half moon shape that we generally start with. And keep that power of positive thinking or positive energy going as we start to open up the body. Keep the right ear over towards the right shoulder and walk the left fingertips out. And place the right hand on top of the left ear. Give it a little bit of a little pressure, but more of like pressure out to the side, a tug out to the side. And then we'll bring it back in, chin to chest, and do it all to the second side. Left ear over towards the left shoulder. Fingertips out. And then left hand on top of the right ear. Okay, everything comes back. Hands to the thighs and chin down to the chest. And then both hands behind the head. Okay, so I do this one a lot, right? Head up into the hands. But then we're changing it slightly today. Squeeze the elbows so they're going straight ahead. And then point the elbows more up to the sky and keep pushing your head back into the hands. Should give you a little bit of feedback, or maybe a lot of feedback in the upper back. Try to breathe. And then just gently release the hands down. Okay, right forearm all the way down to the ground. So this is a pretty big reach, and it makes my other side come up off the ground. That's totally fine. And then opposite hand overhead. So it's pretty low side body stretch here. You can have a bit of a focus today on back bends. Come back to the center and go over to the other side. There's so many component parts of back bends. One of the big pieces of the puzzle is getting more length in the side of the torso. So that's that first work there. Come back to the middle, and then hands out in front of you, but cross at the wrist. I'm gonna kind of hold on, and then like you're rounding the back, cat back, arch back into it. So get a good stretch across the top of the shoulders here. Then just release the hands and come back to neutral. Let's move over to all fours. Set the hands under the shoulders and the knees under the hips, and then do cat and cow. So pull the chest forward and through, eyes and tailbone up. Belly hangs low each time you're in cow pose. And then we round the back, push down through the hands and knees in cat. I'm just kind of finding your own pace here as always. Much like the beginning of class, this is also where I do a really good check-in of the body. Is anything feeling tight? Anything particularly loose that needs a little more strengthening? Kind of take notice here. Okay, downward facing dog. So take the hands out a little further in front of you and then tuck the toes. Lift the hips. Pedal your feet a little back and forth. And then press both heels evenly down towards the mat. Make the legs as straight as they'll go as you do that. Take a nice bend in your knees and walk your hands all the way back to your feet. So you're at the end of your yoga mat. Do like a ragdoll pose here. Hold on to your elbows. Sway a little bit from side to side. And then I want you to keep that bend in your elbows and take your right hand to the outside of your left ankle. And then reach your left arm up to the sky so that you're in like a fold, but with a twist. Look up. If the hamstrings allow, you can go for straighter legs. And then take your left hand down. Cross it over to the outside of your right ankle, and then right arm up to the sky. And try to look up and twist. Definitely both knees can stay bent. If you are straightening the legs, straighten both legs, not just one. And then take both hands back down. And walk out to downward facing dog. Back out. Step your right foot in between the hands for low lunge. Make a nice long stride. Front knee over the ankle. Lift the back thigh high enough that you can make the back leg straight. And really squeeze in the glutes. All that, and then add a twist. Right hand up. Okay, from here, take the hand to the inside of your foot, spin the back heel down, down dog lunge. Walk the hands out towards that front left corner of the mat. Try to broaden the right knee away from your right shoulder. And that can happen by stretching more from the inner thigh to your inner knee, but also pulling down from the top of your butt to the bottom. So right buttocks, pull it underneath you. Okay, walk the hands back in. You're back to your low plank. Lower the left knee down to the ground and pull the back heel in. And I want you to stop here where you find a quad stretch, where you get a stretch through the front of the back thigh. So it might be it's already there. If not, bring your hands up to your front thigh and try it there. And if you still have a little bit more room, I want you to stretch your arms up to the sky and see if you can't extend a little more energy from hips to shoulders. And that actually can help affect in the back quad. And then set the foot down, set the hands down. Okay, this one's a little bit different. I'm going to lift the back knee up and then step the right foot back a little bit, drag it back. I call this fallen sage. You're going to send your right leg to the left and then lay your hips down so your legs are like in an L shape. I know it might take some negotiating with space, but you're trying to make your legs like an L. And then it's a twist again. Left shoulder trying to move down and look at the ground. Place your forearms down. The more you split your legs, the more you're likely to feel this. And another good variation would be to bend your right knee instead of straightening the leg. Perhaps you just don't have the space, or it's a little easier. Okay, we're going to come back to this pose again later in class, so I just wanted to see it here. Come back all the way back to downward facing dog. Okay, so this is 4 different positions. We're going to do it on the second side. Left foot forward, you're in your lunge. And then you've got your twist. We're calling this one 1. And then we move to our down dog lunge. So hands to the inside, spin the back heel down, 2 flat feet. Walk the hands out. The hands don't need a lot of weight in them. Try to keep most of the weight in your feet. But to go lower in that front knee, think of the top of your hip moving down towards the ground, kind of wrapping underneath you. It's a funny concept. More in thought, it doesn't come across that much different in the outer form. Okay, and then we'll walk it back in. Low lunge, set the right knee down. Quad stretch, you'll pull the back heel in. Again, starting off, body opening, body stretching. This is likely good. A little bit more, hands up to the front thigh. More, arms up to the sky. And then on an exhale, lower the hands down, knee up. And send your left leg under the body towards the right side so that as you lie down on the left hip, split the legs like an L shape, and then twist the torso to look down at your mat and come to your forearms. I've got a good advantage here if you happen to be close enough to a wall. Like my left foot is pushing into my wall right now, and that's like really great extra feedback. Looking for a stretch on the IT band of that left leg right now. Okay, and we're going to extract ourselves from this. Pull it all the way up and back to downward facing dog. Now, bend your knees and walk your feet forward to the front end of the yoga mat. Inhale, half lift, extend from the hips out to the crown of the head. Exhale, forward fold. Stand up, reach the arms all the way to the sky. Bring palms together, center of the chest. Give yourself a couple of breaths here. This is where I always fix the clothing. And come back to breath. Okay, we're gonna get into our flow here. Inhale, lift the arms up to the sky. And then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, extend from the hips out to the crown of the head. Step back to plank, top of your push-up. And then lie flat down to the ground. Use the hands and feet to push down and lift your chest up for cobra. And then change to downward facing dog. Pick up the pace a little bit, get our heart rate a little lifted. Look forward to the hands, step or jump to the front of the mat. Half lift, forward fold. Stand up, reach the arms to the sky. And bring palms back together, center of the chest. One more time like this. So Surya Namaskar A, lift the arms up. Exhale, bend the knees and fold, touch the ground. Inhale, half lift, hands to thighs, to shins or the ground. Step back to plank. Lower to the mat. Inhale, cobra, peel the chest up. Exhale, down dog, lift the hips up and back. Several rounds of breath. Next breath, look to the hands. Exhale, step or jump forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand up, reach the arms to the sky. Bring palms together, center of the chest. Okay, we keep going, Vinyasa flow. I'm gonna add in some new fun stuff. Exhale, fold over. Inhale, half lift. So this is a little more challenging hour than sometimes I bring to you guys. Step back to plank. Nice to just kick it up a notch from time to time, see what works. From plank pose, I want you to lift your right foot like 2 inches above the ground. And if you lift your right foot up and need to then set the left knee down, that's cool. Or stay lifted, full plank. Here's a little bonus, do a push-up while that leg is lifted, and then send it to 3-legged dog, right leg up and back. Step the right foot all the way forward to your low lunge, and then come to high lunge. Hands to the hips, and then to the sky. Keep everything that you're doing, and then add left heel to the ground. This is warrior 1. So it's just like our high lunge, but with back heel down. It's gonna change a lot of the impact on the back leg, on the hip, and the low back. Try to keep reaching your hands higher to extend through the side length of the body. And then warrior 2, open it out to the side. Extend the arms in either direction. The hips turn more to the side, shoulders right over the line of our hips. And then I want you to go all the way back to that high lunge. Lift your back heel, send the left arm back to the sky. Good, can we do warrior 3 from here? Hop, hop forward until you can take your weight onto your right leg like a pendulum. Swing the torso down as you lift the back leg up towards a T shape. And then we're all the way back down to low lunge. We've got it. Step back to plank. One more side. Left leg, lift it up. Hold plank or do a push-up. Love it. 3-legged dog, lift your left leg high. Step all the way through. Come up to high lunge. From high lunge, spin the back heel down for warrior one. So it's like little stages. And then open the hips and shoulders to the side and send the arms out in either direction to change to warrior two. Warrior three is the big change. We've got to go back, arms overhead, heel up, and then launch the weight onto the left leg. As the torso moves down, lift the right leg up. Try to keep the hips square. Bottom leg does not have to go straight. Feel free to keep a bend in that bottom knee. And then take it all the way back down to your lunge. Again, step back to plank. Lower flat down against your yoga mat. And do cobra. Peel the chest up. Think shoulders up and back. That head up, heart open. Working with that mantra all month long. Okay, change to downward facing dog. Look forward to the hands and step all the way to the front of the mat. Half lift. Forward fold. Stand up, reach the arms to the sky. And palms together, center of the chest. Give it a couple of breaths. Okay, chair pose. So from here, bend your knees, sit into your thighs, extend the arms out in front. Stay, legs in chair pose, and add eagle arms. I want you to wrap your right elbow under the left elbow. And then step your right foot backwards into a lunge. So eagle arms, right foot back in a high lunge. As slowly as you can, lower your right knee down to the ground. And if you immediately start to pull that back knee a little forward, it's less intense on the pressure down. So squeeze the front heel in, squeeze the back knee in. Okay, and then try to add a little back bend. Can the arms go higher? As the arms go higher, arch your back. Keep looking at your hands. And then unarch, come back to neutral. Lift the back knee up. Okay, kind of like how we had to step forward, a little bit of faith to get into warrior three. I want you to try to step the right leg forward and wrap it over the left to get into eagle pose. Balance, squeeze everything strong to the midline. So if something's touching, your elbows, your knees, your thighs, squeeze it in. And then chair pose. Unwrap the legs, unwrap the arms, stand up. We have two sides. So we have to go back. Utkatasana, chair pose. This time it should be left elbow under the right. Option always to hold the shoulders instead of the back of the hands. Shoulders makes things a little easier. And then step the left foot back. And you can squiggle your foot until you find that full stride. It's important to have a pretty long stride here before we take the back knee down. And then we'll slowly lower the back knee down. Squeeze the back knee forward, the front heel back. Get that energetic lift through the thighs, pelvic floor, and belly, and then at the back bend. Look up and back. And come back to neutral. Lift the back leg up. Ready? Eagle balance. Doesn't have to be one fell swoop. You can kind of tap, tap, tap until you're ready. Left leg wraps over the right. Unwrap, stand on 2 feet. Extend the arms, full Utkatasana, full chair pose. And then fold over your legs, forward fold. Make the legs as straight as they'll go as you relax the upper body. Let out a few breaths. Release the exhale through the mouth. Let the head shake a little, yes and no. All that balance work takes so much full body concentration. Okay, let's find downward facing dog again. Walk, walk, walk the feet back. Easier now. Set the knees down. Press your hips back to your heels so you're in child's pose. And then walk the hands over to the right side. We usually do this at the beginning of class, so it should feel familiar. Just walk the hands over to the side a bit. And then walk across the center and on over to the second side. Come back to the middle. Lift your torso so you're sitting back on the heels and take the knees close together. You could always be upright, kneeling like this if this isn't comfortable. Interlace the hands behind the back. Squeeze the elbows towards each other. Keep the elbows squeezing in, straighten the arms, lift the chest, look up. And I try to squeeze like the heel of the hand together. Now keep doing that. But send your head down and forward, not to the ground, like more rounded than that, so that your head is trying to get to your knees and lift your arms higher up. And slowly come back to your neutral upright position, release the hands, and shake it out. Okay. I find that so difficult in the shoulders. Let's keep moving along. Now come up to kneeling. Make sure you have enough padding that you're not having to worry about your knees. You could always like double fold your mat or something if it's more sensitive for you. Arms straight out in front. We're practicing a version of camel pose from the strengthening of the quads. So as if the front of the muscle, the front thigh muscle is getting stronger right against the thigh bone, like squeeze it in. Squeeze the glutes. That helps us know where things are. And then keep looking at your fingers and lean back. And this is like quad strength. Come back to neutral. And we do this 4 more times. Just lean back until you know that you might almost fall if you go further. And come back up to neutral. Lean back. Testing, testing. Come back. About 5 times. I always need to know, like, where can I hold myself? Last time, stay back. Stay at that max for you. And then can you take one hand to your hip? If that works, can you walk the hand down to your heel? If that works, can you take the other hand to your hip and to your heel? Quads still on fire. Lift the chest up and push the hips more forward to change more into a back bend position. And then get out of it by walking the hands to the hips, helping yourself back to neutral. And then I always need a child's pose after that. Nice and slow though, head down, rest the arms. And I do that slowly because I am one to get a little bit dizzy. If you ever feel a little dizzy in postures, just slow it down. It can be helpful. Certainly very helpful to just keep the eye gaze open and a little bit forward of you. Okay, we'll crawl back up to all fours. And then lift the right leg up and back in line with the spine. And send the left arm out. Remember, lots of different back bends, so we've got another one here. Hold on to your back foot and try to push your foot into your hand to get more lift. And this might look like holding the air between hand and foot rather than the actual clasp. Either way. And then we set it all down and try it on the second side. Left leg, right arm. Our bodies, right, they tend to look symmetrical. We think of it that way. I've got 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 hips, all the things. But they're not exact mirrors, and we certainly use our body in different ways. Bend the left knee. Reach back, try to hold on to the foot or the air. As much as we work to have a pretty even experience on both sides, it doesn't have to be the same. Release. 2 hands down to the ground, stretch it back, downward facing dog. And then walk the hands back to your feet. Have a bend in the knees to slowly roll up to standing. Shoulders up and back a couple of times. Roll the shoulders forward and down. Okay, we're rocking through this. Take a nice wide stance facing the long side of your yoga mat. Either way is fine. Extend the arms out and then turn the right toes out and try triangle pose. So reach as far as you can to the right and then lower the right hand to your shin or the ground and top arm up to the sky. From here, I want you to look down instead of up and bend the front knee and then lift your elbow all the way up to the top of the thigh and reach the top arm overhead for side angle pose. For a moment, bring that top hand to your waist. Just easier as we progress into more difficult abdominal range here. Take the elbow down, your shoulder down to the inner thigh here. Stay really engaged and strong in the abdomen, kind of pulled up on the pelvic floor. And then we go for a bind. Drop the top hand behind your back. The bottom hand is trying to move under your thigh to flip up and find the hand. Guys, my hands are not touching right now. It's the work, it's the trying. Stay with it, breathe with it. Still a full, complete posture wherever we find ourselves. Go back to warrior 2. And then straighten the front leg and turn the toes. We'll do that same combination to the second side. So it's 2 straight arms and 2 straight legs first in triangle pose. And then look down at your front foot and take the top arm to your waist, bend the bottom knee. Lift higher up, elbow to knee. So with that support of elbow on the knee, top hand should be able to go palm down overhead into that long side angle reach. And then bring the hand back to the waist just so it's a little easier to engage back, strengthen the core. And we try to go lower shoulder towards the inner thigh. Yep, and then try to wrap your hands. Front arm under the thigh, top arm behind your back. The tendency is to make the head go forward and the butt stick out. Do the opposite of that. Try to send your head more towards the front foot and your butt more towards the back heel. So they come towards sort of a center line as much as possible. And then break the bind and go back to warrior two. Straighten the front leg, turn your toes. Wide-legged forward fold, take the hands down to the floor, head towards the ground. I almost always bend my knees here, thinking of this as a moment of relief, a few breaths. As feels good to you, the legs can be straight, but try to put more weight in the toes instead of your heels. So a little more weight forward, hips a little forward. And bring both hands back to your hips. Push down evenly through both feet and come all the way upright, heel toe it in. We'll shake. Walk back to the top edge of your yoga mat. Just one more big standing pose. It's pyramid pose. Right foot forward, step the left foot back into your high lunge. But then this is usually a little bit of a shorter stride. So you hop it in just a tiny bit and push your back heel down. Straighten both legs. With the hands on the front of the hips, you really want to find those bony points and try to point both of them towards the front of the mat. Keeping that hinge from the hip, push your butt back as you reach your head long and forward until you find a stretch in the legs. Pyramid pose works for you with hands at your hips. Try holding onto your elbows behind your back and send your head a little lower towards your shin. I like to focus on the little creases in my back ankle, and as if I could straighten my leg more and take the creases out of the front of the ankle. Work, 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 push through that back outer heel and come all the way back upright in the torso. Bring both feet back to the front. And then we try it on the second side. Keep the left foot forward, right foot back, a little shorter than your full stride. Back heel down, two straight legs, square the hips, and then hinge forward. Okay, again, if it works, you're holding towards the elbows behind your back. And let your torso drop down a little bit more so that your gaze can look at little crinkly back ankle. My foot like pulses, funny. Yeah, and I'm trying to iron out those creases as much as I can. It doesn't happen, but the work is there. Push through the back heel. And then come all the way back upright. Hands to the hips as you step forward. And then just a big reach up to the sky. If you like a little arch here, you could send hips more forward, hands, shoulders more back. Comfortably come over and do downward facing dog. Okay. Set the knees down and sit back on your heels. This next one, because we're upside down and down dog, I just want to show you first, and then we'll try it together. It's just dog pose into crow pose, which is sort of the first arm balance that a lot of folks find. So you'll start to walk your feet in, and when they get a little closer, then I want everything to bend. So if everything can be straight, then everything bends. And you try to put your knees above the elbows. And then I usually just kind of like rock a bit back and forth here and feel the weight transfer from feet to hands, feet to hands. And then I try to stay rocked forward until the feet can come all the way off of the ground. We're not trying to stay up for very long, and then we're going to walk it back. Let's give it a try. See what happens. So down dog. Walk the feet in. It's kind of like a high bear crawl when you bend the elbows and the knees. Walk it in even a little bit more until the knees can hit somewhere above the elbows. And do a little bit of that rock forward and back. If the knees can stay on the upper arms the whole time, even as you rock, that's great. And then try to stay rocked forward. And while you're forward, the feet might come up. The higher the butt is, the easier it might be to get the feet up. Good. The trying is what matters. And then walk the feet back until you get back to downward facing dog. Lower the knees. Child's pose for a moment. You can flip the hands up, wrist up. Okay, good. So we're going to change here. Here's what I'm doing. I'll tell you guys my thought on this. We do this harder back arm balance that makes our back round like this. So then we're going to do a harder back bend, which makes us go in the opposite direction. And then I'm going to say, okay, do this one more hard thing where you're in this direction. And then you get to relax more in this direction. So we're just getting the spine moving back and forth, which is why I say it's the trying that counts, yeah? So this one is pigeon pose, with the right knee forward and the left leg back. And we're gonna walk our hands more around the waist so that we're more upright. With the hands walked a little bit back, now can you get into that quad stretch, pull the back heel in, and I'm gonna walk the right hand forward so it's easier to look back and grab hold, thumb on the big toe side of the back foot. Okay, this works, good. Try to pull the heel even closer in. And then here's where the extra hard thing comes in. We're gonna have to manipulate things a little bit to try to get your elbow to where that hand was. Yep. And then the back bend needs the twist The twist of the shoulders and hips, trying to square back to the front of the mat. And this is why we were trying a bind too, to get the top hand to reach back and hold on to the left hand. And then it all comes undone. Good, good, good. And we come through all fours, so you get just a little moment there. And then we're gonna switch sides. So we've done most of these pieces. It's just trying to put them all together at the same time. Left knee forward, right leg back. And then we're trying to be more upright here. So this is basically like high lunge, the same kind of work, different shape of the front leg. Okay, the front hand can actually just drop down to the inside of the leg as you pull the back heel in and go hand to the big toe. Good, full stage to work with. The next place you go is you try to pull the heel in closer. This takes me kind of reaching back. My left hand is crossed over to try to then change to the elbow crease. And the hand's like trying to give yourself a pat on the back. Left arm up. Like we did in that pyramid pose, trying to really square off the hips, shoulders, but still lengthen the spine. And then think bound angle. Can the hands come together? Unwind, unwind, unwind. All fours to find a little bit of a neutral position and a couple of breaths. Okay, these harder arm balances are a little bit more about neutralizing. And so again, we just do as much as is gonna work here. It's downward facing dog. At the beginning of class, we did what I called fallen sage, those L shape in your legs. You step your right foot forward and then send it under the body to lie down on your legs, your hip. You're in a twist of the upper body, forearms down. Okay, this pose could also be a different picture where you're in an arm balance. The first stage of that is to bring it back to your hands rather than your forearms. Tuck the back toe underneath, lift your hips up. From there, you need to stamp down on your right foot instead of the outer edge of the foot. So you're gonna pull it back, bend the knees, stamp down. And this is why we did Bakasana, that crane pose, a little bit before this. You're kind of hopping everything in until you try to bend both knees, both elbows to make your right thigh and your left elbow touch. That's the counter pose that I'm going for. It's kind of like a reset for your body after that big quad stretch mermaid pose. From there, you would try to take both feet off of the ground. And undo it all until you're in downward facing dog. And then we need to reset the other side too. So we're gonna step the left foot halfway through, under the body. Do your fallen sage. This is most important here. Down on the forearms. You can be like, yep, feeling good, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna work here for another minute. If you are continuing to level up, you go to the hands like they're in a low push-up. Push through your feet to take your hips off of the ground. bend the front knee until you can stamp your foot down on the floor. So I've got 2 flat feet, 2 flat hands here. And then I'm gonna try to just walk it in till I'm in a very pretzel-y position with my back heel off of the ground, but I'm still flat on my front foot. Either staying and working there or trying to lean forward enough to balance the front leg on the right arm and extend the legs out. Work your way out of your pose, back to downward facing dog. Fully happy then to do child's pose. Forehead down to the mat, let it be. Okay, and then we're going to change to sit on our seat. Extend the legs out in front of you. One last pose here. Lift, lift, lift. To me, just a extension of arms overhead. We're in the back bend. We are giving extension for the upper back, the thoracic spine. And then you're going to go in the opposite direction. Fold over, reach towards your feet. Hold on to your feet or let the arms be along the side of the mat. Take your time to change to lie down onto your back. Slowly roll down, pull the knees in, give them a little hug, rock a little from side to side. Definitely the most physically demanding practice that I've led us through this year. So just give yourself a moment here. Real gratitude. Thanks for this time for movement. The ability to work with it. And then any last little bits of movement that you'd like. I'm going to go for knees off to one side and a supine twist. Of course, if you do something on one side, make sure you do it on the other side as well. And then come back into the middle. As you release the legs down for your final relaxation pose for Shavasana, if you can still touch that piece of the body that you held at the beginning of practice, sending that physical attention, energy, is it helpful? We need to work with the body in ways of mindful movement and mindful relaxation. So try to let it go then. Release the hands. As I mentioned, this month I'm working with the mantra, head up, heart open. The The head up piece is sort of almost calling myself out, calling the attention. So the harder pieces. Being as positive as I can be about that tweaked shoulder. Working smartly, and then also just like heart open to stay responsive. Let it all come in here for a few moments of full relaxation. When you are ready, bringing attention back to body, back to breath. Move just a little bit and then move bigger. Take your time to come back to a seated position. Fold the hands into a closing gesture. And again, bow in full gratitude to yourself, for each other, in this time for practice. Thank you. Namaste. Okay, thanks, Kelsey. Thanks, Rebecca.